I passed boards? Yes. Did I think I failed? Yes. Hey nurses, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joy and I'm a nurse practitioner. Today we're going to talk about how to pass that nurse practitioner board exam. Today we're going to talk about how to pass your NCC exam for neonatal nurse practitioner, because that is my role, that is who I am. So whenever I was looking for information for the NCC exam, I didn't find many creators talking about it, so I decided to create a video for you guys. I'm just going to go over some tips that I wish I knew, and then talk about what was helpful for me, what I did to pass, and what you guys can do. As you guys know, I just graduated last year and I just passed boards last year. I recently moved to Houston so that I could start my new career as a nurse practitioner. Let me just start off by saying that taking boards is a very scary thing, okay? You're never going to feel prepared. You're never going to feel like you've done enough to study. So the first step that you need to take is just sign up for the dates. Go ahead and sign up, because after you sign up, that's when your preparation starts. Some things about the NCC exam, which you can read about on their website, but I'm just going to talk about them briefly. Something you should know, it's 175 questions. It is a 3-hour test. 25 of those questions are unscored, and so they use those questions for future exams for the following years. The test cost me $325, and then there was a $50 application fee. That fee is non-refundable. If you do not pass the exam the first time, you have to reschedule the exam. You have a 90-day wait period where you have to wait, and then you have to pay the $325 again. Yeah. Like I said before, all this information can be found on the NCC website. They have a testing guide on the NCC website. It goes over all the fees that you will have to pay and what you need to know about exam day and what is included on the test as far as topics that they cover, and then the percentage of the topics that are covered on the exam. Okay, let's get into tips. I have 7 tips for you guys. I hope these tips are helpful. I hope it relieves some of the stress that you'll experience, and I'm so excited for you guys, because you know, this is the start. This is the start of what you've been working so hard to get to. So, all right, let's get into the tips. Tip number 1, I would not wait until you feel ready to schedule that exam. I would schedule the exam first. I mean, this is what I did. I scheduled my exam first, and then I created my schedule, my study schedule. So I feel like if you try to wait until you feel ready to schedule your exam, you will just keep pushing it out, and that's not helpful. I took my exam 1 month after I finished clinicals. I gave myself 1 month to study. So the first thing that I did was scheduled my exam. You go on the website. They have this search bar that you can look up locations that are close by you, and then pick a date. Just pick a date and get it scheduled. Tip number 2 would be, after you pick your date and it's scheduled, then I would sit down and get in the planning stages. I would create a schedule to study. I set aside time, just like I did with the NCLEX. Like with the NCLEX, I felt so prepared when I went to take my test. I felt so prepared. I studied for 5 days straight, 8 hours a day. That's how I did it. I didn't work. So I literally just studied for the NCLEX, and then 1 month later, I went to go take the NCLEX. Well, with the NCC exam, I was still working. So what I did was I made my schedule. I did 4 10-hour shifts, 10-hour study days. I say 10-hour shifts because that's what it felt like, but I did 4 10-hour days, and I set my alarm. I got up when I was supposed to get up. I blocked off my time. I put my phone on do not disturb, and I would study for 1 hour and then give myself 30 minutes in between that 1 hour to do things I need to do, like check my phone or, you know, just take a break or whatever. But I did that for 10 hours, 4 days a week. I know that some people, you know, don't study that way, but I'm sharing what helped me, what got me prepared. So you do whatever works for you. But in this video, I'm going to be talking from experience. So I'm going to be telling you what I did. I had a schedule and I stuck to the schedule. My kid is older, so I didn't have the problems of her interrupting me. But if you have younger kids, you know, do what you need to do. If you need to leave the house and go study for however many hours at the library, do what you need to do. This is only a short period of time in your life. It's a small sacrifice. It will not last. Your kids will not remember when you had to study. So don't feel guilty. Like, take this time. You work so hard. You want to pass the first time, not only because it's expensive to repeat the test, but then also it's just an extra stress and you have to wait to work. So keep that in mind. Set aside the time. Put the hours on your phone. Do not disturb on your phone and just get it done. Like I said, on the NCC exam website, there will be a study guide, not a study guide, but what would we call it? Like a study guide. It's like a study guide of the topics that they will have on the test, and then it's broke down to the percentages. So when I studied those topics, and I also did practice questions. I did a website called Stat Pearls. I would say that website was helpful with my critical thinking skills. It wasn't necessarily like helpful for the exam. Like, it's not the same setup or anything like that. Like, I would say when I studied for NCLEX, I used the UWorld, and I feel like UWorld was really helpful for NCLEX for me. Stat Pearls was not set up like boards, but it was helpful with my critical thinking skills. So I did hundreds of questions on Stat Pearls. Then I also used 2 books. So that would take me into tip number 3. Okay, so the first book that I would say is a must is this book right here. This book is the Neonatal Nurse Practitioner Certification Intensive Review. And this book has over 150 exam style question and answers with the rationales, and it has a practice test at the end that you can take. This book goes over all the topics. It follows the guideline that is on the NCC exam. And I would say this book was very helpful passing boards. If you can get through this book will help you pass boards. Boards will be 3 options. 1 question, 3 options, okay, for you to choose from. This is set up like that. So it has the practice questions that are inside after each chapter. And then it also has the sample test that you could take. I specifically remember taking boards, and some of the questions were covered in this book. So I would say get this book. This book was very helpful. I'm going to link it below. The next book is this Gomella book. This is my NICU Bible. I carry this book to work with me all the time. It's pretty used and abused, but if it's not used and abused, then that's a bad sign, because this book right here has everything that you need to know as far as management, drugs, diseases. All the things that you could think of is in this book. This is my NICU Bible. I highly suggest you get this book if you are thinking about even starting nurse practitioner school, because this book is good to have even while taking your classes. Like, even if you are not ready to sit for boards, this book is still helpful taking your classes. Both of those books will be linked below if you want to grab those. But if you don't get anything, I highly suggest this one, the first book. I highly suggest this book. Okay, so then after you have set aside your scheduled time, you've already scheduled your test, and now it's the day before exam day. The most important thing, which I think helped me so much, is tip number 4. Tip number 4 is you have to practice self-care. It is mandatory. And I know they tell us in nursing school, like, don't try to cram the night before, blah, blah, blah. But when I tell you, I shut everything down. The night before my test, I took a long bath. I just relaxed. I went to bed at 8 p.m. I had a good dinner. I felt so at peace because I knew I had did the work. I studied. I didn't miss a day. I was so committed, and it was my day of relax. I literally just relaxed, and then the next day I got up early. I had a good breakfast. I was so positive. I told myself positive affirmations, and then I went to take my exam. And I promise you, if you do it that way, you will be so much happier. This exam is 3 hours long. There is no way you're going to stay up all night, cram. If you don't know it, then you're not going to know it right before the test. So there's no way. Do not stay up all night cramming. It's not going to be helpful. And then if you are at peace and you know you did the work, it's just something about when you go take that test. So I would highly suggest practice self-care the night before the test. I feel like that really helps me. All right, so then tip number 5 is going to be to choose your exam date wisely. I don't know, that probably should have went up higher, closer to just start, but choose your exam date wisely. I took my exam on September 1st, which is a Thursday, and then I found out September 6th, which is a Wednesday. So I wanted to take my exam as close to the end of the week as possible. That way I didn't have to wait all week to get my results, because they release the results on Wednesdays. I don't know the exact time, but you will get your results on Wednesday. And so I took mine on that Thursday. So then I only had to wait Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, found out Wednesday. But if I would have took my exam on, say, Monday, I would have found out the following week on Wednesday. That's too far. Okay, so choose your exam date wisely, whatever works for you. But I wanted to have the least amount of days as possible to wait. I would have chose that Friday if I could have, but I just had something come up on that Friday. And then also it was September 1st. I don't know, something about the 1st. I was like, yeah, this is a good sign. Okay, September 1st, I'm doing it. And then I found out that I actually passed boards while I was in Africa. So that was just so wonderful. It was exactly what I wanted to happen. Thank God I didn't fail, because everybody kept asking me, like, what if you fail? What if you fail? And then you find out in Africa and your trip is ruined. But I was like, I'm not failing, so don't speak that on me, okay? So anyway, I found out in Africa, and it was just so magical. It was perfect. In the airport, and I didn't mean to find out in the airport. I meant to find out like once I got to Luxor, because we were in the airport leaving Cairo going to Luxor. So I meant to find out then, but child, don't ask me why. I got on there and I checked my page, and it had my education. It had my education, and I was like, it would not give me education if I didn't pass. Like, it would not be here. And then I refreshed, and it had my name with, you know, NCCBC after it, and I just started crying. I was like crying so bad in the airport, and everybody was like, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? You know, and my friend was like, she passed her nurse practitioner boards, and then my daughter was crying, and it was a lot. We were in the airport, but it was something I will always remember. It was so magical. So yeah, choose your exam date wisely, okay? Tip number 6 is going to be prepared for the facility. You can do the exam at home, online, like proctored online, or you can go into a facility. I wanted to go into the facility because I didn't want anything to happen with my internet. I was worried. I just wanted to go in, make sure I was in the facility, make sure the internet was good, make sure I was good. So prepare for the facility. I went in, I had to have my ID, so you'll need your ID. I took my passport because I think on the website or something, it said something about a passport. I took my passport. I did not need my passport. All I needed was my ID. I took my ID and I had on a jacket because I'm always cold, and I wanted to be able to take the jacket off. But then when I got into the facility, the man in the facility was like, hang that jacket up immediately. As soon as I walked in, he was like, hang that jacket up. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. There's other people in the facility taking other tests. So there's like a lot of other people in there. It's not just you. It's not just nurse practitioner people. So you don't have that distraction where, okay, people are getting up and I'm not getting up. They're finishing before me. People are getting up, but they're not taking the same test as you. So it doesn't even matter. All your things, your keys, like my keys, whatever I had in my pocket, he gave me this little bag and locked up my stuff in the bag. And then he gave me a calculator, and he gave me a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper. And then I went in and I had noise canceling headphones, and I also had earplugs, the little earplugs. So I sat down. I had to put my bag on the back of my chair when I sat down, and then I started my test. When you start your test, there's practice questions that you can take to make sure that the computer's working and you don't have any problems. So I did that, and then I got started. And when I tell you it was the most nerve-wracking thing, I felt like I knew some of the questions, and then most of the questions, I didn't know them. I felt like I didn't know them. I was so lost. I was just devastated. Now, when that happens, because if you're anything like me, it will happen. And when you get overwhelmed, that takes us to tip number 7. Go to the bathroom. There is a bathroom in the room. You can go to the bathroom. You can get up and go. And I went in there. I used the bathroom. I prayed. I said my affirmations in the mirror. I said, I am a nurse practitioner. I am a nurse practitioner. I did the Superman stance, you know, that they do on Grey's Anatomy. I did that. I did it all. I had to pump myself up, because you're sitting there for 3 hours in self-doubt. It's miserable. So just be prepared for that. Yeah, go into the bathroom. That's my tip number 7. Take a breather and then go back to your exam. You can sit back down and continue on with the test. Okay, so the test is very hard. I felt like it was very hard. My test was very hard. I know some people feel like their test was easy. I was not one of those people. I felt like my test was very hard. And the test is not set up like NCLEX, like 75 questions, it shuts off, you know, you pass. That's my NCLEX story. You know, I was so confident going in there. It shut off at 75 questions. I knew I passed. I didn't wait to celebrate. I just knew I passed. That is not my NCC exam story at all. It's nothing like NCLEX. So you sit there for 3 hours in self-doubt. And then you get up and you feel like, what just happened to you? Literally, when I left out of the room, one of the people who were out there in the hall was like, are you okay? And I'm just thinking, no, I wanted to cry. I'm like, no, I'm not okay. So anyway, I get to my car. The first thing I do is call one of my friends that has already passed this test. She passed it the year before me. So I call her and I'm just venting and going off. And she's like, yeah, that's exactly how it is. Like, that's exactly what I felt like. That made me feel better. That did make me feel better, because I was like, okay, cool, fine. Also, you know, you have to remember that you have all this self-doubt, but in reality, most people are where you're trying to get because they had the audacity to think that they could do it. It's not like they're just so much smarter than you. It's not like they know so much more than you. I knew they didn't study harder than I did, because I studied my butt off. So it's not that. It's just because they had the audacity to do it. So when you're feeling this self-doubt, remember that. Think about all the other nurse practitioners that you know who are already in the place that you want to be, and understand those people are not smarter than you, and they did not work harder than you did, and they passed. So keep that in the back of your mind, okay? On that drive home. Now, I'm saying all that to say that when I got home, I literally went through YouTube, combed through it, trying to find the NCC Neonatal Nurse Practitioner exam. Somebody on there talking about what they did when they failed. Because I thought I failed. I really thought I failed. And I was trying to find a way to deal with that. Somebody to relate to, you know how they say like misery loves company, whatever. I was trying to find one other person who did not pass, so that I would not feel so bad about it. There was really not too much information about the neonatal exam, but I just looked at other nurse practitioners, you know, suggestions that they had made, their story, and I did that for hours on YouTube that night. I was just trying to figure out the next steps I need to take, you know, since I didn't pass, because I would have 90 days to wait to take the test again. I would have to change the way that I studied. So I was just trying to prepare for the worst. After that night, I was fine. I packed my bags. I went to Egypt, and I planned it that way. I wanted something that would take my mind off of waiting for the results, and I wanted to celebrate. So that brings me to tip number 8, which is when you're finished with the exam, you need to celebrate. You need to celebrate. It's not about celebrating, oh, I passed the exam. It's about celebrating the fact that you completed your master's program. You did something that most people haven't done. And if you are a Black person, such as myself, going through this program, I mean, you are literally less than 4% of the profession. So that in itself is something to celebrate. That in itself is something to celebrate. Do not forget that, okay? So celebrate the fact that you completed this task that most people have not done. I celebrated by going to Africa. That was like my dream. I went to Egypt. I took my daughter, and it was a complete luxury trip. It was an experience of a lifetime. And I set it up that way because I wanted to celebrate my accomplishment in completing my master's program. Now, finding out that I passed boards in Africa, in Egypt, that right there, cherry on top, okay? Cherry on top. But that's just what it is. Like, you have got to live in the moment and celebrate your accomplishments, and then understand that if you did not pass the first time, it is okay. It is okay. It does not mean you're going to be a bad nurse practitioner. It doesn't have anything to do with what type of nurse practitioner you'll be, whether you pass the first time or the second time. Literally, you have to understand that. Like, some people just don't pass on the first time, and I think that is okay. You just have to be prepared for the worst, know what you will do, but don't let it destroy you. Like, don't let it tear you down. Don't beat yourself up for it, because you've already done the work. You passed your classes. You obtained your master's degree. That's a big deal. Celebrate it. I'm going to have to make a video about what happens after you pass the NCC exam. I didn't even know what to do. I didn't have any guidance. So I do need to make a video about that. Like, you know, getting your license, getting credentialed to work in these hospitals, like what to expect. I will make a video about that. If you want to see that, you're going to need to subscribe. So push that little bell button so that you can get a notification when I post videos like this. Well, guys, I hope this video was helpful. I've included those 8 tips for you. Please comment below when you plan on taking your NCC exam, or if you're going back to be a nurse practitioner. Let me know what type of nurse practitioner you're going back to be. I'm so excited to make these type of videos for you guys, because I felt like I couldn't really find NICU specific videos. So I'm excited to do this for you guys. Don't forget, I do have an Etsy store where I sell nursing gear. If you like my cup, I sell that on my Etsy store, so you can go on there. I will post a link below. I just want to end this video with some positive words. You have already done the work. That is the hard part. You've already done clinicals. You've already done the coursework. You've already put in the hours, the blood, sweat, tears. You have already completed your master's program. Whether you pass the nurse practitioner exam on the first time or the second time, or whenever you pass it, that does not define what type of nurse practitioner you will be. Stay positive, keep your head up, and know that you've already done something that most people haven't even done. If you guys have any more questions, please comment them below, or if you want me to make a video about something else, just let me know. And for my nursing students, I want you guys to look around the unit, find a nurse practitioner that you can look up to, ask her to be your mentor. I'm telling you, it's nothing like having advice from a person who already went through what you're going through. Like me being able to call my friend after boards was such a big stress reliever for me. So look around the unit, find somebody who you look up to, ask them to be your mentor, and then good luck. I mean, take the steps. I went back for my nurse practitioner at 2 years, so you guys can do it. If you have any questions or you need anything from me, let me know. As always, I'm always here for you guys. And thank you so much for staying to the end. Please, please, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next Monday. Bye.
Baby girl, you are so pretty, pretty.